We have an update on Developmentally Ready we would like to share with you. Daycare Resources received training through an ISB webinar on May 30th, 2019. We received answers on July 3rd to the technical assistance questions that were asked during this webinar. Due to this guidance, our policies and procedures have changed regarding developmentally ready infants. Although Visit 3 is already underway, we will need to inform providers who care for infants on the updated policy as soon as possible. During Visit 3, the visit addendum states that foods must be offered to developmentally ready 6 to 11-month-olds. There is a note underneath that states unless a note from the parent or doctor states otherwise. We will be going over this policy in more detail. Research suggests there is a window of opportunity before age 1, especially between 4 and 9 months. During this time, it's important to introduce solid foods to prevent future problems. First, it's easiest to do things when the child wants to do them. Most infants show interest in solid foods somewhere between 4 and 7 months. Eating solids, especially soft finger foods, can help infants develop and practice fine motor skills. Infants can start to grab pieces or strips of food in their fist at 6 months. Later, around 9 months, infants can pinch foods between their finger and thumb. Around 10 months, most children develop the jaw movement needed to grind foods from side to side, in addition to just straight up and down. This allows them to eat foods with advanced textures, such as hard teething biscuits. This advanced chewing helps develop muscles in the jaw that help kids speak properly. Research shows there are lots of advantages to feeding solids between 4 and 7 months. Feeding a variety of foods and textures may prevent some food allergies, picky eating, and texture aversions. For these reasons, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that infants should be eating a variety of foods from different food groups by the time they are 7 to 8 months. We want to be clear on the terminology we use for developmentally ready. When we say all components are required, it means that all of the components in the meal pattern must be offered and served to infants who are developmentally ready. Let's look at the pattern for infant meals. Each meal component has a black dot. The first component is breast milk or formula. The second component is an iron-rich food such as meat, meat alternate, or iron-fortified infant cereal. The third component is fruit or vegetable. Let's look at the infant meal pattern for snacks. Each meal component has a black dot. The first component is breast milk or formula. The second component is a grain such as bread, crackers, ready-to-eat breakfast cereal, or iron-fortified infant cereal. The third component is fruit or vegetable. When you look at the infant meal pattern, you will notice there is a range of numbers for the serving size, such as 0 to 2 tablespoons of vegetable or fruit. The USDA explains that the 0 refers to infants who are not developmentally ready for solid food. Once an infant is developmentally ready, solid foods are required and must be offered. DCR has a developmentally ready form that will be mailed to providers at the end of August. This form will be sent to all providers who have infants 6 months or older as of October 1st. When the parent decides the child is developmentally ready, the provider or parent should mark the first box and write in the date the child became developmentally ready. The provider should keep this form and have it available at visits. Providers do not have to use this form, but having documentation like this form may prevent disallowances and citations at ISB visits. The first box is for when infants are developmentally ready for all 3 meal components. The easiest way to meet the meal components is to claim breast milk or formula, iron-fortified infant cereal, and fruit or vegetable. Some providers will find it easiest to serve those same things at every meal and snack. However, if parents do not want their child to have iron-fortified infant cereal or the provider wants to serve a variety of foods, the provider can serve a meat or meat alternate at meals and a bread, cracker, or dry breakfast cereal at snacks in place of infant cereal. If an infant is not developmentally ready, the second box should be checked. When an infant is not developmentally ready, the provider should only record breast milk or iron-fortified infant formula on his or her menu. The Illinois State Board of Education is requiring providers not to write down any solid foods until an infant is 100% developmentally ready to eat all of the three components. So, only breast milk or iron-fortified infant formula should be recorded when an infant tries solid foods for the first time, or an infant is only eating one of the solid food components, such as iron-fortified infant cereal, and the parents have not tried fruits or vegetables yet. So no solid foods should be recorded for these infants. We recommend having the developmentally ready form filled out and ready to prevent citations or deductions. Once the infant is able to eat all of the meal components, for example, they are eating fruit or vegetable and infant cereal, the Illinois State Board of Education considers the infant developmentally ready. Therefore, once the child is able to eat all of the meal components, or the parent states that the infant is developmentally ready for the solid foods on the developmentally ready form, the provider must serve and record all of the components at every meal and snack that is claimed. Please realize that the Illinois State Board of Education assumes an infant is developmentally ready any time they observe the three components being served to an infant. This not only includes when they see three components being served at a visit, but also when they see three components recorded on a menu at any meal or snack. So be sure providers know to only record breast milk or formula until the infant is eating all three meal components. ISB has indicated that as of 10/1 of 2019, they expect all infants who are 8 months and older to receive all three meal components at every meal and snack. The provider needs to have some type of documentation on file when an older infant will be delayed until 8 months or older, such as the developmentally ready form or a physician statement. Some infants will take a little longer to catch up with the development of a normal infant, such as a baby that was premature or has a developmental delay. We want to be careful how we handle situations when a provider states that they just won't claim infants or wants to make a child non-participating. Receiving federal funding means the provider must meet federal requirements. When a provider is on the CACFP, credible meals and snacks must be offered to all children that attend the facility. While providers are allowed not to claim a child, they must still feed them a credible meal unless they have an approved physician statement. Therefore, we want to explain developmentally ready well and make it simple. Since they have to serve a credible meal, they might as well get reimbursement for it on the food program. Exemptions from the meal pattern are allowed with an approved physician statement for meal accommodation. While we are allowed to make exceptions for children who are medically unable to meet the meal pattern, we want to be sure that providers continue to offer meals to all children in their care, including infants. Treating one child or a group of children, such as infants, differently, or not offering meals to infants can be considered a civil rights violation. You might also hear a provider say, maybe it's too much trouble to be on the food program. Keep in mind that licensed facilities have to meet the DCFS meal pattern even if they aren't on the food program. So again, since facilities have to serve meals that meet requirements, they might as well get reimbursement for it on the food program. Let's look at some examples you might find when you are monitoring. Let's say you see a 7-month-old drinking breast milk or iron-fortified infant formula and no solid foods. Since most infants are just starting foods around 6 months, many 7-month-olds may not be eating all the meal components yet. You will need to ask for documentation that the infant is not developmentally ready. If there is no documentation, train the provider to get documentation such as the developmentally ready form to help support a claim with only breast milk or iron-fortified infant formula. As of October 1st, 2019, ISB states they will issue a citation when an infant is not developmentally ready, but there is no documentation such as a developmentally ready form. Let's say you see a 9-month-old drinking iron-fortified infant formula and eating yogurt and bananas at a visit. When you look at the menu, there are no solid foods recorded. Since providers are supposed to record the meal components they serve, and this child is eating all of the components, this is a red flag. When you observe a facility serving all of the components but not recording the solid foods, make sure to retrain the facility to record all components. Starting October 1st, deductions are possible. The Illinois State Board of Education states the provider may be deducted for any meals and snacks that do not contain all three components starting the day after an ISB visit. For our next example, you see a 6-month-old who is eating breast milk and infant cereal. The baby is just starting solid foods and has not tried fruits and vegetables yet. The Illinois State Board of Education states that menus must only contain breast milk or iron-fortified infant formula until an infant is developmentally ready for all 3 components. When you see menus with only one solid food component, such as infant cereal, and the infant has not tried the other component, such as fruit or vegetable, then retrain the provider to claim only breast milk or formula until they start fruits and vegetables. Train the provider to record all the meal components at each meal and snack once this infant starts fruits and vegetables. For our last example, let's say you are looking over a menu for an 8-month-old. Be aware that when providers randomly serve meal components, for example, infant cereal at breakfast, fruit at lunch, ISB considers any meal or snack without 3 components incomplete. So when ISB looks at this menu, breakfast is missing a fruit or vegetable, lunch is missing a meat alternate, or infant cereal, and PM snack is the only meal service that has all 3 meal components. Since this child is eating all meal components, ISB considers him or her developmentally ready. So when you see menus like this, train the provider to serve and record all components at each meal or snack. We want to ensure that all providers have complete and reimbursable menus. As of October 1st, 2019, any meals or snacks for developmentally ready 8 to 11-month-olds that do not have 3 meal components would be deducted starting the day after the ISB visit. That concludes our video on Developmentally Ready. Stay tuned for the post-test. Write down your answers to the 11 questions as you watch the rest of this video. Then turn in your answers to info@dcrhome.org. We will check them over to make sure everyone understands the material. Thank you for your help training our providers on Developmentally Ready. Question 1. Providers must start recording foods the day an infant eats his or her first bite of solid foods, such as bananas. Answer A for true or B for false. Question 2. Feeding solids between 4 and 9 months. Answer A if you believe it may prevent food allergies. Answer B if you believe it develops muscles that help with speech. Answer C if you believe it exposes kids to a variety of foods. Answer D if you believe it may prevent picky eaters. Answer E if it's all of the above. Answer F if it is none of the above. Question 3. If ISB saw this menu for an 8-month-old at a visit, they would say, answer A if you think they would say infant cereal needs to be served at all meals and snacks. Answer B if you think they would say the infant is not developmentally ready. Answer C if they would say there are some missing meal components. Answer D if they would say all meals and snacks contain all components. Question 4. The American Academy of Pediatrics states that infants should be eating a variety of foods from different food groups by answer A if you believe it's 5 to 6 months, answer B if you believe it's 6 to 7 months, answer letter C if it's 7 to 8 months, or answer D if it is 8 to 9 months. Question 5. To be developmentally ready, an infant must be eating answer A if it's different kinds of iron-fortified infant cereal, B, all of the meal components, answer C if you believe it's different kinds of grains, and answer D if you believe it's different kinds of meat or meat alternates. Question 6. Menus for a developmentally ready infant should have, is it A, a grain at meals, B, a meat or meat alternate at snacks, or C, all 3 meal components at every meal or snack, or D, breast milk or formula only. Question 7. When the serving size says 0 to 2 tablespoons, the 0 means answer A if you believe they can skip it for a meal, answer B if you believe it is optional, answer C if you believe this infant is not developmentally ready, answer D if it's 0 tablespoons are required. Question 8. The developmentally ready form either A, should be kept on site at the facility, or B, is the only form that can document developmental readiness, or C, can be used instead of a physician statement, or D, is required for all sites who have infants. Question 9. When an infant is only eating one solid food component, for example, fruits and vegetables, then menus should A, record breast milk or iron-fortified formula only, or B, record breast milk or iron-fortified infant formula plus a fruit or vegetable, C, record breast milk or iron-fortified infant formula plus a fruit plus a vegetable, or D, record all meal components. Question 10. When a provider states they just won't claim infants, do you want to A, make sure credible meals are offered to all children, including infants, or B, explain policy to ensure provider is not discriminating against infants, or C, be careful no group is treated differently, such as requiring parents to bring infant foods to prevent civil rights violations, or D, do you want to do all of the above? Question 11. As of October 1st, 2019, meals and snacks may be deducted starting the day after a visit when, is it A, no solid foods are recorded for a 6-month-old, or is it B, there is no developmentally ready documentation for a 7-month-old, or C, an 8-month-old is eating all 3 components but no solid foods are recorded on menus, or D, an 8-month-old is not developmentally ready but has an approved medical statement. That's the end of the post test. Make sure to mail your answers to info@dcrhome.org.